Now to Pakistan, and Pakistan's army says an Indian drone attack struck a military installation in the eastern city of Lahore overnight. Officials say footage shows one of 25 Indian drones downed when they entered Pakistan's airspace. One civilian has been killed and 4 Pakistani soldiers injured. India says it struck an air defense system in Lahore and accused Pakistan of launching its own missile and drone attacks. Earlier, Pakistan's information minister gave more details on how the Indian drones were destroyed.
Now about these 25 drones, which came towards us, and that are considered to be top-of-the-line drones, I would like to tell you how we shot them down. We gave some of them soft hits. That is, they were shot down by jamming them. And we gave some of them hard hits. That is, we shut them down by diverting them from our air defense system.
Well, DW reporter Beenish Javed is with me now in the studio, and from Delhi, our bureau chief Sandra Petersmann joins us too. Sandra, let's start with you. This is a fast-moving situation. India has now confirmed that it attacked a military site in Pakistan overnight. What more can you tell us?
Well, we have nothing here on Indian drones being downed by Pakistan. We have also nothing on the Pakistani claim that Indian jets had been downed. But we do have confirmation from the Indian side that indeed last night in the early morning hours, targets were attacked in Pakistani airspace, presumably with drones. And India's Ministry of Defense, let me look at my notes here, stresses in its official statement that all of this happened because Pakistan tried to attack military targets in major Indian cities like Amritsar, for instance, the city of the Golden Temple last night, with drones and missiles, so all of which were neutralized according to India. So India makes the point here that this was a reaction to Pakistani action, and as such, let me quote again from the statement, an inevitable response. And let me also add something that India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh told an all-party meeting this morning. He made the point that the initial Operation Sindoor, the strikes deep inside Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir on May 7th, killed more than 100 terrorists, his words, all of which are claims which we cannot independently verify, as both sides try to control the narration. So there is a huge, thick fog of war.
So that's where we are with India. Beenish, let's talk about Pakistan. Pakistan's army has said it shot down some of the drones that India launched. What more are they saying?
So, Terry, Pakistani military has said that they shot down 25 Indian drones. Pakistan says that on the night between the night of 7th and 8th May, India took military action against Pakistan and by sending drones at multiple locations. Pakistan says that they neutralized 25 drones, and some of these drones were sent by India in various locations, even big cities like near Lahore, a city of Gujranwala, near Islamabad, also in area near Karachi. Pakistani military says that the debris of the drone is being collected. They claim that one of the drone, and they used the word, was able to partially engage a military target near Lahore. And in this engagement, the Pakistani military has said that 4 Pakistani security officers were injured. And in a separate incident, 1 civilian was killed. But again, we have to understand that it's very difficult to independently verify these claims. Pakistani military has made these claims about this, what Pakistan says was a drone attack by India.
Has Pakistan given any indication, Beenish, of how it might respond to India's actions?
Pakistani Prime Minister yesterday in a televised address vowed and avenged that, these strikes that India carried out early hours of Wednesday in different locations in Pakistan. He said that it was an act of war and that Pakistan will respond to this attack. But basically, he authorized Pakistani military that they have the authorization by the Pakistani government to carry out an attack or a retaliation of this attack against India. Now, India carried out these strikes, India says, on terror centers in Pakistan. Pakistan says all of the strikes were targeted, civilian sites were target of these Indian attacks. We also know that India carried out these strikes by linking the 22nd April Pahalgam attack to Pakistan, in which 26 civilians were killed. Pakistan had denied any link with that attack.
Okay, that's the military front. Let's talk about diplomatic channels. Sandra, many are calling for cooler heads to prevail, of course, in this situation. Is India looking for negotiations at this point, using whatever diplomatic channels are available?
Well, we do know from informed colleagues inside the Indian media, namely here the Indian Express, that there is some sort of communication happening at the level of the national security advisors between India and Pakistan after the US put some pressure there. We have also learned that the currently highest-ranking Indian diplomat in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, was summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs there. So we do see some communication channels working, but this hasn't stopped the hostilities yet. We do see continuous shelling with mortars, with heavy artillery along the line of control, which is effectively dividing Kashmir, the disputed territory, in an Indian and Pakistani part. And we see lots of civilian casualties there, both dead and injured. India has started actually evacuating some of these villages, so no end of hostilities, but some form of talking. And we also do know that countries like China, like Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates, Qatar, none of them has any interest, all important players here, of a full-blown war between these two nuclear-armed powers.
Sandra, thank you very much. That was our Delhi Bureau Chief, Sandra Petersmann, and here in the studio, our reporter, Beenish Javed.
And let's pick up on that angle of possible diplomacy. I would like to welcome Meera Shankar, a former Indian ambassador to both the United States and Germany, joining us today from London. Welcome. Pakistan's foreign minister, as we've just heard, has said there had been some interaction between the Pakistani and Indian national security advisors since Wednesday. Does that mean that some diplomatic back channels are still open?
Yes, I think that India has signaled that it reserves the right for self-defense against terrorism sponsored from across the border. But it has also signaled that its response will be considered and proportionate. So the counter measures that India took were aimed at terrorist camps in Pakistan, 9 sites, mostly along the line of control or international boundary, mainly 8 to 10 kilometers. But 2 of the main groups, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, have their camps in Bahawalpur and Muridke, 30 kilometers inside Pakistan and 100 kilometers inside. And these 2 sites were also targeted because these groups have engaged in terrorism against India. And the statement that the Indian minister and the Indian press release, which was given, was that justice has been served, which means that India is prepared not to escalate further, but it depends on Pakistan's response. What is it that they are going to do? Are they going to wind down after this? Because we've signaled that we are not really interested in escalating the situation. But if Pakistan were to respond with military action, then India would be forced to respond. So it's a situation which can spiral, but where I think that the two players probably want to try to bring it under control, because I think the defense minister of Pakistan, his first statement was very belligerent, saying, we have the right to respond with force at a time and place of our choosing, or we will respond, not the right to. And then subsequently, after the Indian statement, he said, well, if India is prepared not to take it further, then we might also let it rest, or something to that effect. So I do hope that saner voices will prevail on both sides, and that the back channel talks which are going on between the NSAs will help to bring the situation under control.
Now, we should say Pakistan, of course, denies that it in any way supports these groups India is accusing of terrorist activity. I would like to ask you about the role of the United States here. We had President Donald Trump saying Wednesday that he hoped India and Pakistan could stop further escalation. He added, and I'm quoting, "If I can do anything to help, I'll be there." Can Donald Trump help in this situation?
Well, India has preferred to deal with these issues bilaterally, but quite often in the past, the US has weighed in behind the scenes to try to, de-escalate a crisis situation. And I think we don't know what role the US will play at this time. There are three countries, France, Israel, and Russia, which have said that India has the right to self-defense, just like any other country. And while in this case, the military may or may not have supported the terrorist incident in India, which occurred at Pahalgam, which 26 civilians lost their lives. The point is that India's use of force was against the terrorist camps in Pakistan. So actually, if Pakistan doesn't support the terrorists, they should welcome action against them.
How worried are you personally that these current tensions could dramatically escalate?
I think that it will wind down. That is my personal belief, that it will wind down, because we've had a number of these crises in the past, and both countries do understand that nuclear deterrence is in play as far as a full-scale conventional conflict is concerned. So I think what happens is you have these, incidents or use of force or strikes, but within a range which doesn't escalate to a full-fledged war. And I hope that is the case in this instance too.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today on DW News. That is former Indian ambassador to the United States and Germany, Meera Shankar.
Thank you.
And for more on this, we can now talk to Amitabh Mattoo. He is a professor and dean of the School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. He joins us from Delhi. Thanks for being with us, Professor. I'd like to begin by asking you about something you said after the terrorist attacks last month on tourists in Pahalgam in Indian-controlled Kashmir. You said Pakistan must be made to pay through calibrated actions. Would you say the actions you've seen so far from India are calibrated, and if so, calibrated to achieve what?
They are indeed calibrated, and I wrote this much before the Indian action. They're calibrated because they're intended to strike at the terrorist outfits rather than cause either collateral damage or cause damage to military installations in Pakistan. So they primarily attacked the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Murid-ke, which is in Pakistani Punjab, in Bahawalpur, the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and training camps, as well as in Sialkot, the headquarters of Hizbul Mujahideen. All of these are prescribed terrorist organizations, internationally prescribed terrorist organizations. So it was calibrated to cause not collateral damage, not target civilians, nor even military installations of the Pakistani army, although these terrorist outfits, as we know, as is well known, have a deep connection with the inter-services intelligence, the deep state within Pakistan. And so that was what the calibration was about, targeted surgical attack on terrorists who had carried out the barbaric attack on the tourists in Kashmir last month.
I'm sure Pakistan has a slightly different perspective on what has transpired there, but both India and Pakistan understand what's at stake here. Neither side can really want this to escalate into an all-out war. As a former member of the advisory board of India's National Security Council, where would you say the red lines are here for both sides?
I think quite clearly India had to re-establish deterrence at multiple parts of the escalation ladder, because Pakistan felt that given that there was a nuclear weapons symmetry in a sense, or a balance that existed, it could carry on asymmetric warfare. India had to establish that it will not allow asymmetric warfare within this nuclear parity. It has done that. It's now for Pakistan to accept that there is going to be deterrence at that lowest level of the escalation ladder. It probably needs a face saver to ensure that its domestic constituency is not riled. But that is something that Pakistan political leadership has to manage. The fact, of course, is that the Pakistani army has often used India as a way of diverting attention, especially when there are domestic problems. And everyone knows that Pakistan is going through multiple crises. Economic crisis, which is dependent on bailouts from the IMF, a political crisis with Imran Khan, the most popular leader, in jail, and multiple crises in terms of sectarian violence through the Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan, and Baluchistan is in flames. So there is an insurgency in Baluchistan, deep political turmoil, and economic.
But getting
and the
back
army
to,
has often used India.
Sorry. I just want to get back to this, what's going on between India and Pakistan, because Pakistan's, and how this might be resolved, Pakistan's foreign minister confirmed that there have been contacts between the offices of the Pakistani and Indian national security advisors since Wednesday. Assuming that the two sides are talking, what do you suppose their main messages are to each other at this point?
Main messaging is that no one wants escalation, no one wants civilians to be targeted. Pakistan has, in a manner of speaking, retaliated by sending missiles to multiple cities in Punjab, in Jammu and Kashmir and Rajasthan. So that is enough of a face saver. It has claimed that it has downed Indian jets, which India has not confirmed. It has said that it's downed a Rafale, a MiG-29 and a Sukhoi. Again, as I said, India has not confirmed that, but that should be enough to satisfy a domestic constituency. It's just that to see if the Pakistani army chief is driven by a personal sense of desire for glory, because his speeches suggest that this may also not just be driven by instrumental interests, but that there might be an irrational sense of ideological justification that he may be wanting, that he may be seeking from this.
I'm sure there are lots of different motivations on both sides wrapped up in this, but looking at a possible solution, my final question, what, if anything, do you think can be done to de-escalate this conflict? Do you see potential for mediation, for example? The U.S. president has offered to be of help.
I don't think anyone can mediate at this point. What the international community can do is probably exercise influence and pressure to Pakistan when it's particularly vulnerable to international pressure. There's an IMF board meeting going to happen tomorrow, which is going to decide on whether there is a bailout possibility for Pakistan. I think Pakistan needs to now cease fire. India has achieved what it wanted to achieve, send a message to terrorists. It's time to get back to the normal, if not the normal, but at least the new normal, where there is a deterrence capacity and Pakistan stops doing what it has been doing for the last 30 years.
Professor, thank you very much for talking with us. That was Amitabh Mattoo from the School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University.
Thank you.